Okay, I think we're rolling. Yeah. This is Jerry Diamond, How to Get Out of Babylon. And not great lighting on that, you see in the camera, but cheaper than a new pair of pants. Lighter than bolt cutters. For T-post only, but this is that Lobo high stepper that I was telling you about. And you can watch videos on it, I'm sure, but has a picture of a guy, you put it about halfway up, you step on it, it gives you plenty of room for most people to step over and put your other foot on the other side, swing your other leg over, pull the thing, put it back in the pouch, and you're on your way. So cheaper than pants, safer, no tetanus shot needed, no lead-em needed, and reusable, forever and ever. So light, durable, and highly recommended because it keeps you from feeling like you have to cut somebody's fence, which is destroying private property. Not recommended. If you're planning on cutting fences, don't come to the Ozark Plateau, because I don't think your lifespan will be very long. So, this is the way it is. I mean, that's just, you probably will not make it here. So, not a good idea. Anyway, I've covered that before several times. But that thing is cool. Now, what I'm saying is that I would advise anybody. I'm trying to cover things that are here. I'm trying to have food here. The sheep. Trying to have things in place here. Communication network. I'm just doing what I can. I mean, it's like 3:30 in the morning here, and I'm still up doing this. Okay. But these things would be something I would put in every. Yeah, people should have them here. This is the second time I bought them, so I've got one stashed somewhere. But good for this really, it's cast aluminum, very light. But as far as somebody en route here, it's light. You could throw it in the car, have it in your, not necessarily in your. I would advise having like two, bug out bags. In other words, your hardcore one that if you go walking, you're going to have. But you could have another one in the car with things that, okay, these are the things as long as I'm driving I can have in there, heavier items. That might be one in that thing. But if you go walking, that's one I would take in your walking bag, So either way, however you figure it, but it doesn't weigh very much. And like I said, it's cheaper than a pair of bolt cutters. So, of course, you can, compound. If I was going to be cutting stuff, I would get compound dikes. They're phenomenal. Spend the money and get them, but I will advise highly, I've said it before, against planning to cut people's fences. It's a good way to not be a survivalist anymore, because it's a good way to die way, way before your time. So that's just my take on it. Biblical law will be coming into effect, at least here, maybe not around the rest of the country, but here, biblical law will be coming into effect, and you destroy your neighbor's property, you've broken Torah. By cutting the fence, by destroying your neighbor's property, then his cow, basically his ox, becomes destroyed. You've killed his ox. You now owe the equivalent of, in a shit hit the fence scenario, an ox is worth a lot. Okay, Cuba built one of the most vibrant, organic economies in the world when we embargoed them after the Russian Empire collapsed. The Russian Empire collapsed. We embargoed them. They went from a normal country to no oil virtually overnight. They just hit the ground running, which is what we should be able to do. I don't think we will, but we should be able to. We should be able to hit the ground running and leave no one behind. But that requires four-legged, solar-powered food operations. So, just like I said, my 2 cents on the subject. in my not so humble opinion, I would not advise it. So you destroy that ox, you've destroyed the man's income, you've destroyed, and here I was going to say this is a really good example. In Lucifer's Hammer, Tim Hamner, and he hooks up with this lady who is the bookkeeper at a business, and they're trying to get out, and they need a four-wheel drive vehicle, a Blazer or Bronco, I think it was a Blazer. And they go to this car dealership, the windows are busted out, and they get the keys, and they're about ready to drive out, and the guy comes out with a shotgun, and he says, "You stealing one of my vehicles?" And the guy says, Tim Hamner's, wealthy. He said, "Well, I'd be happy to buy it from you. How much?" And the guy says, $250,000. And Tim's like, "Will you take an IOU?" And he goes, "Sure." You know, checks aren't any good anyway. Money's no good anyway. So, yeah. So Tim Hamner wrote the guy I think the guy's name was Bud. Began with a B. Wrote him an IOU for $250,000. Fast forward. Is that the right direction? Yeah. Rewind would be this way. Okay, fast forward. Tim survives. He gets word that this man is still alive. And Tim has a pregnant cow. And he said, and the comment is like, I wonder if he would accept a pregnant cow as being worth $250,000 in exchange for that Blazer. Probably. A pregnant cow can make another little cow. And they do it every year. You get a heifer this year, you get a bull the next year. Bull, heifer, heifer, bull. Sometimes they are better at doing males and females, obviously. So anyway, four-legged firefighters, four-legged lawnmowers, four-legged food producers. And what is the best form of food preservation, bar none, in the world? Is it dehydration, freeze-dried, smoked, canned, fermented? No. It's called live food. I mean, why you're not expending any energy to preserve it at all. Smoking, you got to have a smokehouse. Canning, you got to use a lot of heat and fuel. Fermenting is really awesome. You have the jars to do it, but fermenting to me is one of the very, very, very top. Key for kombucha, sourdough bread, all those things that are yeast and bacteria or whatever driven. Symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. SCOBY is the mushroom thing in kombucha. So, point being is though, live food that's walking around, crops that are in the ground. That's why I emphasize meat on the hoof. I want to get some meat on the hoof. It's in my book. It's going to happen. Another point about that is, I didn't make this earlier and I should have. King David went from being a little kid, a shepherd boy, to a king. Now the question came to my mind one day because if I'm going to be a leader, what does it take? And there's a song about this by Sarah Connors. No, Sarah. I heard her in concert. I'm tired. Sarah, whatever Sarah's last name is, and it's not Connor. Anyway, shepherd becomes a king. It's a Cave of Adullam. Beautiful song, awesome song. Talking about remembering the oil, anointing oil. I've said this before, but the dream. I had a dream, and where is it now? And what does it take for a shepherd to become a king? And I asked myself that question one time, and I was like, the answer was obvious. The Lord's like, well, step number one is become a shepherd. So I have that possibility to become a shepherd and learn to take care of sheep. And yeah, I'm a little old for it, but only 5 of them. So I would just really love to see this happen. I mean, one way or another, it's got to happen. I mean, if I got to make payments, I'll do it. But I'd love to just be able to get PJ, who they really need the money and they need to get out of there, and they need to get it done as soon as possible. He invited me over to his house Sunday night, and I mean, it's a lot of really neat things. Pray for him. His name's PJ Paul Jacob. a lot of phenomenal things. Been you know, real dear friend of my family for a long time. Real guy. I mean, a real heathen turned, you know, converted saint, whatever you want to call him. But he's had a real life, a rough life, and a real life, and I'm just really praying for them and that they've been blessed recently and made it through some real serious difficulties, marital difficulties. Survived things that my marriage didn't survive for, you know, things that never happened in my marriage. Whatever. Such is life. Okay, that's it. It's Jerry Diamond. If you're listening to this, you are the remnant. But consider that and like, be in prayer about that. And what does it take for a shepherd to be a king? And, you know, to be a leader, you know, well, go take care of some sheep. So I want to do that. So hope you'll, you know, anybody that can just, you know, help out a little bit. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm done.